Honourable Speaker, Honourable Acting Prime Minister, Honourable Leader of Opposition, colleagues, thank you very much for the opportunity to give this ministerial statement. Madam Speaker, I thought that it's important that I give a ministerial statement on the causes of flooding in Fiji, given the misunderstanding about that it is only due to heavy rain that we have flooding, but there are other contributing factors, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, flooding in simple terms refers to overflow of spillways or waterways, or water making new pathways due to sudden increases in volume or its speed of its flow. It is a natural feature of drainage systems and of rivers and streams which occurs when drain canals are filled and the rivers and stream can no longer accommodate the excessive water generated by severe weather conditions. The drainage canals then overtop the natural or artificial banks and water enter the surrounding lands to cause flooding. Madam Speaker, floods prove that waterway may seem benign, but in huge quantities it can be enormously destructive. It can be an enormously destructive force, virtually impossible to stop because of its speed and weight. Madam Speaker, scientists have noted that the total amount of water on Earth has not changed over the last 3 billion years, implying that the hydrological cycle is said to be constant. Madam Speaker, the hydrological cycle, in simple terms, involves the evaporation of water from oceans into the atmosphere and back onto the land or Earth in the form of rain or snow. So, Madam Speaker, in a nutshell, what the scientists are saying is that the volume of water is same. The water then runs off the land or is absorbed by it, and after some period of time makes its way back into the ocean. Madam Speaker, generally there are 3 types of floods: flash floods, rapid onset floods, and slow onset floods. Madam Speaker, flash floods commonly occur in Fiji within a very short period of time and is usually as a result of heavy rain caused by intense rainfall from slow-moving thunderstorms. Madam Speaker, flash floods are most destructive and can be fatal because people are usually taken by surprise without no warning, no preparation, where the impact can be very swift and devastating. A recent flash flooding occurred 2 weeks ago over the Western Division, including Rakiriki, Tawa, Ba, and Nidi, where most of the main bridges were underwater. Rapid onset floods take slightly longer to develop, which lasts for a day or 2 only. It is also very destructive, but does not usually surprise people like flash floods. With rapid onset floods, people can quickly put a few things right and escape before conditions worsen. Slow onset floods rarely occur in Fiji and occur as a result of water bodies overflooding their banks. They develop slowly and can last for days and weeks. They usually spread over many kilometers and occur more in floodplains. Madam Speaker, when rain falls on catchment, the amount of rainwater that reaches the waterways depends on the characteristics of the catchment, particularly size, shape, and land use. Some rainfall is captured by soil vegetation, and the remainder enters waterway as flow. River or waterway characteristics such as size and shape, land use, the vegetation in and around the river, downstream water levels, and the presence of structures in adjacent to the waterway all affects the level of water in the waterway. Madam Speaker, the bigger and straighter and smoother a river, creek, or other canal is, the greater its capacity to carry water and the less prone it is to flooding. Simply put, straight rivers speed up water descent, while meandering ones slow it down. Any process that reduces this capacity, such as the placement of structures in the canal, encroachment by development, or build-up of sediments, contributes to increased flooding. For instance, there is more flooding in the upper meandering reaches of Singatoka Valley compared to the downstream straight reach alongside Singatoka town. Madam Speaker, a recent JICA report on a study of 4 major rivers in Vitilevu noted that land use in Fiji is either covered with forests, agricultural land, urban areas and underutilized land including grassland. We as humans have certainly altered much of the natural landscape of the planet, leading to an increased flood. Madam Speaker, the consequences of flooding in Fiji in terms of land use are strongly influenced by commercial development and urbanization. Due to urban drift and increasing population, particularly within urban towns in Fiji, new settlements, including informal settlements, have been built illegally, especially in flood-prone zones, despite knowing their danger. Informal settlements do not have proper amenities, including proper drainage connected to storm drainage outlets and flood detention structures, which further increases impacts of flooding. Madam Speaker, if a river's drainage basin or floodplain has been heavily urbanized, a river becomes much more prone to flooding. Urbanization involves the laying down of tarmac or concrete, impermeable substances that will increase surface runoff into the river and therefore increase the river's discharge. Today, many subdivisions or urban residential areas face a lot of flooding caused mainly by poor drainage, undersized drains and blocked drains caused by debris or dumped rubbish. To stop road and streets from flooding, humans will often build storm drains that collect rainwater and channel it into a river or stream. Madam Speaker, recently in print media, Fijian, an article published on 26 December last year, the Waindamu settlement in Nakasi was noted to still facing a major drainage problem as debris and rubbish clog the drains. Madam Speaker, this settlement is located within the vicinity of Koronivia East Drainage Scheme, which is under jurisdiction of our ministry, where most of the settlement's drains are connected to the farm drains within the scheme to further discharge into the River. The existing farm drains were initially designed for agriculture purposes, where runoff was not as much as today because we did not have this Waindamu settlement, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, you can see how these new settlements that has come up now, but are using the old drainage system, which was not designed to cater for this new settlement. And this is not only Waindamu, Madam Speaker, throughout Fiji. When the new settlements, when new developments came in, there was no separate new provision for drainage system, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, plants in a river or in its bank slow the speed of water flowing into it. The slower water moves, the higher the water level and the greater extent to which floodplains surrounding the river will be inundated. This can reduce downstream flood levels and flows. Plants also reinforce river banks, decreasing erosion and increasing the deposit of sediments. Madam Speaker, the capacity of waterways can also be affected by water level in the ocean or lake they are flowing into. For example, a king tide or storm surge can hamper the release of water from a river into ocean. A similar effect can occur near junction of creeks with rivers, where backward effects from river flooding can extend a significant distance up the creek. Madam Speaker, this is to date handled by developing or constructing floodgates, Madam Speaker. And this is something that I was alluding to this morning when, from a question that was raised by a member from the other side about people playing around with floodgates. So when the floodgates are not able to close, Madam Speaker, then during high tide, the salt water enters into these creeks and overflows onto nearby farms, Madam Speaker. And once that happens, Madam Speaker, it takes months and months. It takes months to get the salt water out of that agricultural land, and then make it suitable for agricultural growth, Madam Speaker. Because once you have salt in those fields, then nutrient uptake becomes a problem. Madam Speaker, structures that are placed in a creek or waterway, for example, culverts in an urban drainage system or bridges in a river, reduce the water carrying capacity of the waterway and may contribute to flooding. So, Madam Speaker, whenever a structure is supposed to be erected in a waterway, it requires, Madam Speaker, a detailed examination by engineers. We just willy-nilly cannot go based on a complaint, start erecting structures in waterways, Madam Speaker. We need proper assessment. We need people who are experts and these engineers to undertake. That is why, Madam Speaker, whenever there is an issue or complaint, we send our team down to undertake a detailed scoping, and these are experts, engineers, at least with a diploma in civil engineering or bachelor's degree in civil engineering, so that we willy-nilly don't tamper with the waterway. Madam Speaker, leaves along a waterway are designed to protect areas behind the leaf from floods up to a certain level, but their constraining influence on flood flows can cause upstream floods to be higher than otherwise would be. Road and railway embankments with insufficient cross-drainage capacity can block off parts of the floodplain with a similar effect, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is something that we noted in Olo about 3 weeks ago, when we visited that area to examine the issue of flooding, where we have similar issues, where constructions were made on waterways which are not able to handle the flow of water. Sometimes bridges that have been constructed over rivers can slow the discharge of water and reduce the river's capacity to hold more. These bridges sometimes are having debris entangled to it, and therefore restricting the flow of water, and therefore the water then finding new pathways on the floodfield, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, dams are considered installments that contain dangerous flows. Dams can also cause flood, Madam Speaker, but up to date, we did not have any issue of dam failures in Fiji, Madam Speaker. A dam is a barrier across flowing water that obstructs, directs, or slows down the flow, often creating a reservoir. And it's important, even though we did not have dam failure in Fiji, but to have a small discourse on that, because, Madam Speaker, we have dams in Fiji. Most dams have a section called spillway, or weir, or through which water flows, either intermittently or continuously. Example is the Monosabu Dam, which is both the tallest and largest dam in Fiji, which holds the largest reservoir in the country. The primary purpose of the dam is to produce, as all of us know, hydroelectric power, and it supports about 80 megawatt power station. During high rainfall periods, especially during tropical cyclones, excess water can also be intentionally released from the dam to prevent from breaking which causes flood downstream, Madam Speaker. But to date, we did not have any problem with dam failure, and therefore flooding in downstream, either from Monosabu or from Nandari Batu. Madam Speaker, there has been no history of failure in Fiji. But, Madam Speaker, there has been dam failure in other parts of the world, and let me give some examples, just for us to know that, yes, that could be and what are the causes of it, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in Italy, the Gleno Dam failed once due to substandard construction material used. In the United States, the South Fork Dam failed due to spillway design error. In France, the Malpasset Dam failed due to geological instability caused by changes to water level during filling of poor surveying, giving wrong data to design engineers. In Italy, the Vajon Dam failed due to a landslide into the dam, into the reservoir. In US, the Lone Lake Dam failed due to poor maintenance, especially of the outlet pipes. Pakistan, the Shakidor Dam failed due to extreme inflow, which the dam was not able to handle, and the timing of opening up the spillways was not there. And in England, the Dyke Reservoir failed due to human computer design error, Madam Speaker. And whenever the dams fail, and there's massive flooding downstream, Madam Speaker. So fortunately, we did not have this so far in Fiji. Despite, some people, do gossip around saying, oh, the massive flooding during Cyclone Kina was possibly due to failure of Monosabu Dam, but that was not true, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, coastal flooding occurs when normally dry and low-lying land is flooded by seawater, and we have seen a number of places in Fiji, Madam Speaker. This has happened for a number of reasons. Once the sea level rise, two, the problems with floodgates, people deliberately playing around with floodgates, Madam Speaker, and this is something that we are addressing now. Madam Speaker, storms can also cause flooding through storm surges, which are where waves are significantly larger than normal. And if a storm event corresponds with high astronomical tide, flooding can occur, such as the events on 20th February 2016, where 100% of the buildings in the island of Koro in Lomaviti group suffered damage as a result of cyclone and storm surge, Madam Speaker, which resulted in seawater moving in. Madam Speaker, floods are also caused or affected by the roughness of the terrain being passed over. Dense vegetation and artificial obstacles such as fences and houses will slow down water flow. We are seeing this increasingly, Madam Speaker, in settlements where buildings and developments are encroaching on drains that have been made, which is causing a hindrance to water flow in the waterway, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, heavy rainfall at river sources where rivers or streams overflow the banks. This happens when there is more upstream than usual, and as it flows downstream to the adjacent low-lying areas, there is a burst and water gets into the land. Flow capacities of Rewa River, Sengotoka River, Nendi River, and Bar River in terms of surveyed cross-sections are the smallest at the river mouths compared to the other sections, Madam Speaker. So when you have the river mouth much smaller than the upstream, Madam Speaker, then the floodplains closer to the river mouth will get flooded, Madam Speaker, because the wider river upstream gets narrower at the river mouth and is not able to handle that volume of water that comes down, Madam Speaker. And this was identified by the recent JICA report that I mentioned, Madam Speaker, for the 4 rivers in Bethlehem, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, a study on the watershed management and flood control of the 4 major rivers in October 1997 revealed the 2 characteristics found on the river system. One is that the southern drainage areas occupy a greater part of the island, and only small parts remain for the northern drainage areas, Madam Speaker. Another characteristic is that the gradient of the riverbeds are very gentle from the mouth to the middle reach and abruptly gets very steep in the upper reach. Madam Speaker, climate change is a reality. El Nino and La Nina, which is a complex series of climate change, combined with global warming caused by pollution, only makes disasters more severe. Variations in the atmospheric vertical circulation along the equator of the Pacific, known as the El Nino and La Nina, Madam Speaker, is also causing rise in the sea level and therefore contributing to inundation of salt water in nearby coastal areas, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, 2 other issues that contribute to increased volume of water coming into waterways, which I slightly alluded to earlier on, is deforestation and forest degradation. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Forests collects areas for harvesting, which is classified as forest degraded area, Madam Speaker. The forest areas degraded in the last 5 years is about 8,000 hectares, which is derived from the licensed areas for harvesting and logging, Madam Speaker. So this area, Madam Speaker, of 8,000 hectares over the last 5 years only, Madam Speaker, is only for the licensed areas. And this is the area of where actual hardcore forests have been removed. So, Madam Speaker, the difference between forest degradation and forest deforestation is that deforestation, which is conversion of forest land into agricultural land, Madam Speaker, therefore the land is still under some kind of crop. But deforestation includes activities like logging, where the forest will remain but with less carbon density. Madam Speaker, the causes of flooding are varied, but effects of most causes can be managed if not prevented. With heavy rain, there will be new volume of water, there's no doubt about it, in the waterways. We need to be ready in ensuring that this new volume of water flows out to the sea and doesn't spill out and cause damage to infrastructure or settlements. In this regard, our ministry will work with all the stakeholders to develop a comprehensive master plan to minimize any negative effects of increased volume of water that flows into our waterways in future. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to highlight to members in this House as well as the listeners outside about really the full, complete dimension about flooding, Madam Speaker. Thank you.